Yeah.
Thank you very much, viewers, for joining us today. We are discussing, welcome to Dub TV, where we try to discuss the hot issues of the day, particularly with the Horn of Africa. Today, we are discussing the current political situation in Ethiopia. We have Mr. Atnafu and my friend, Mr. Ahmed Yassin, as well as myself, Gulet. And what we'll try to do is have an honest conversation of what's going on. There seems to be some changes and rapid advancements in Ethiopia. So I welcome Mr. Atnafu. Welcome to our program today.
Thank you, Mr. Guled. I appreciate for inviting me.
Very well. No, go ahead, please.
Thank you for having me as well.
Thank you much. So, gentlemen, there are three questions that are hot topics today. One, peace and reconciliation in Ethiopia vis-a-vis the war that has now started almost just a bit of a year ago. The current political situation, what is happening within the dynamics of the federal system and within each regional governments, and the current release of political prisoners. These are the three top issues. How do they all relate to each other? What road is Ethiopia on? And first, I'll welcome Mr. Atnafu to give us his perspective on those three issues and really anything else that can lead to that. Please welcome Mr. Atnafu.
Thank you, Guled. Appreciate for inviting me again. Well, to to put my perspective regarding the current situation in Ethiopia, uh, you know, uh, the war is still going on in Ethiopia on one hand. On the other hand, it seems that there is a will or an intention to forge peace and reconciliation on the Ethiopian government side, and a peace talk by the TPLF forces and other forces as well. That's only a talk, but when you go to the ground, on reality, the war is still going on. People are still dying, especially innocent people are still dying. The displacement is continuing. The TPLF aggression in the Hamara region is still continuing. So it's a very mixed situation that our country is in now. Um, while the situation is in this status, the government is action recently for releasing some political prisoners, um, call it amnesty or pardon or just simply suspension of the charges. Um, they are giving different reasons for doing that. But the concern that I'm having is uh, different government officials are giving justifications which are not compatible one another. If we see the communication services head, um, Dr. Tulu, or Lagasa Tulu, uh, he made a press release on January 7th saying that the Ethiopian government granted pardon, and he mentioned also amnesty for some political prisoners for that the group of Jawar Mohammed on one side, the group of Iskandar Nega on the other side, they gave a reason that it is to give a room for political reconciliation. On the TPLF side, the reason they gave it to us is the release of six senior TPLF members or leaders was basically based on the humanity and compassion. That's what they said. so the Dr. Lagasa release on the 7th of January was, regardless of the different reasons for three groups, he said the government granted pardon, amnesty for to give room for the and reconciliation for the country.
Right.
The next day, when there was criticism of their action was not constitutional because pardon authority is only granted by the president of the federal government, not
Right,
the.
Mr. Adnaf, if I can jump in real quickly. So, if we can take the two apart, one is the legality
Mhm.
of the process of legality, that they were arrested for something. There was no court proceedings, there is no judiciary involved,
Mhm.
and so forth, which is, as you say, causing the confusion. Was it amnesty? Were they forgiven? Were the charges dropped? So that's one side.
Yeah.
The other part, if I can go into that first, um, which is how do they connect the political prisoners that were Oromo and the release of the political prisoners that were Oromo leaders and the political prisoners that were TPLF or Tigray and so forth and others. How do these differing forces, how does this amnesty or the release come? And then we'll talk about the legality and the processes, the connection, and Mr. Yassin, if you want to jump in as well.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
for people outside of Ethiopia, it's a question that hasn't been answered properly. these gentlemen were all arrested for different reasons from different sort of walks of politics. How did
Mhm.
their release? How did their release
from
coincide?
fr- from if I
Yes.
may, Mr. Nafu, from my perspective, the
Yeah.
government is trying to, or from the government's perspective, the government of Ethiopia is trying to say that we want to start a dialogue, peace and reconciliation. In order to start peace and reconciliation, we will release all political prisoners, and from that perspective, a lot of our audience right now, one of the questions is that how come they did not release the Somalis that's been politically prisoner like Abdi Ile and others. So, and since there is no officially charge that is being presented, so but I want to go back to the connection. Basically, in a short answer,
Mhm.
is we want to start peace and reconciliation in Ethiopia, and this is the start of the goodwill of the government. That's what they're
Okay.
saying.
Okay.
So, but where I agree with Mr. Atnafu is the legality
Okay.
of the burden, and how the government is always is continuously losing the messaging, having a continuous messaging problem,
Okay.
whether it's a goodwill or not. Why would these people been arrested before,
Yes.
and why were not being charged? That's number one. Number
Yeah.
two, who has the authority to burden individuals? Is it the executive, or the goes to the presidency?
Mhm.
So the the legal in terms of the constitution is clear.
Mhm.
The prime minister cannot pardon. Period. And it goes under the president.
Mhm.
But as you said, the spokesperson Tulu came out say that it's amnesty, is pardoning, no, which the prime minister's office has no authority of doing that. And now they are getting back. So this is where I have a concern with Abiy's administration, is continuously conflict within, or what you when you're dealing with a government,
Mhm.
what you expect government is that at least government that has a stable, you can deal, you don't know today what they say and tomorrow what they say is the same. I'll give you an example. uh, they did not want to deal with the West. They were TBLF were terrorists, and anybody who's associated with is a terrorist, and anybody who's willing to work with them is a terrorist organization. And then all of suddenly, the highest terrorist person and others, you release them without, um, so the people are extremely confused. So how can we have a stable administration, and where we can deal with and know where they're going? And Ethiopians right now from everywhere, whether it's within the Amhara region, or whether it's within the Oromia, whether it is diaspora, the Somalis, everybody is disappointed, and it's not something that we sugarcoat in it.
Okay,
So
so if I can jump in there again, I think we're doing a good job. So then the next question is, if the purpose of their, so the mechanism is outside of the legal framework, it's something that's being done for political expediency, I see, to create goodwill, like you said, gentlemen. So the next question is, um, in terms of peace and reconciliation, in terms of moving forward, is this step sufficient? Is it on the right track? Or the questioning of the legality, does that put it in a sort of a compromising position in that, well, we don't know what the government's going to do next? So does this build confidence between the government and opposition groups and the citizens, or does it add more fuel to the fire? At Nafu first and Yasin.
Yeah, that's a very good question and hard question too. Honestly, and myself,
Sure.
I don't
Your
believe.
perspective, your perspective.
Yeah,
Obviously,
my perspective
you're
is,
not here speaking for the government.
yeah,
You're here as an
yeah,
expert on matters of Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa. So your perspective, your understanding, you have insiders that somehow may be able to give you information, your analysis. Um, do these steps put Ethiopia on the right track toward peace and reconciliation, or is there still more work to be done?
On my perspective, I think there is more work to be done.
Okay.
Um, and that's number one. Number two, even the act of goodwill of releasing a certain individuals or political prisoners. Number one, the government didn't charge these people as a political prisoners. They were charged as to be criminals, killings of people, and other things. And these people were in jail for 18 months, some of them even more than 18 months. And during these 18 months, the government had the opportunity to prove it, the charges that was made against Jawar, Iskender, and others, and prosecute them in the court if they were guilty, or if they were innocent, they shouldn't be in the first place in jail. That's what I'm saying. So what I have seen from all this process is the government is not acting as a regular government. It's just they arrest you if they feel that they are unsafe, and they release you for something that's not substantiated or that's not going to add up in any political resolution. Uh, while they said that they want to show a gesture by releasing few uh, prisoners, they are rounding up people and putting them in jail. Regular people, poor people, because of their identity or something else, or journalists. Very known journalists are in jail, and you too knows very well that on the left side, the they some of the party leaders of ONLF are in jail now. I can tell you from the Amhara side and other parts of the country, there are a lot of people already in jail. But what if the government is serious or committed for peaceful resolution, I agree there must be a peaceful resolution. I agree there must be a national reconciliation. I agree that there should be a national dialogue to resolve our differences if we have to save the country. But I don't think this is a way. I don't think it has nothing to do with to contribute to anything, because are these people, is Jawar, is Iskender, or TPLF leaders who are released now, released due to the negotiated settlement, or just the government says that we release you and I hope you will contribute?
Okay, so that's the question.
That's
That
the
is the
problem.
question that I've seen in social media.
Yeah.
Was their release, to your knowledge, and we'll let Yassine take this first, was their release conditioned on some kind of a negotiation, conditioned on, to your knowledge, on some kind of a behavior, or is it simply a blanket amnesty? Let's start all over, and to see if we can create sort of better friendship, or were there conditions? I've seen that flying around in social media. Are there conditions to your knowledge? Do you expect there to be conditions, and so forth?
uh, I will be very careful how I answer this question because I I have some internal information and something things that I can share. What I can share about this is, yes, there was a negotiation that's been happening continuously between TBLF leadership and Abiy's administration. There was an Oromo people's concern about Jory's arrest, and there was numerous times that there was a negotiation, the release of Jawar and conditions. I cannot say or don't know the conditions that he's been released, but what we know and what is in the media and openly discussed is that um, they put this they say that in order for us to move forward, we will release all political prisoners and negotiate with peace and reconciliation in Ethiopia. Uh, um, but having said that, um, like the release of the TBLF is what I am concerned the most. If the war is over or finished, then the release of the TBLF leadership will be something, say that, okay, exchange of prisoners, and since they have a lot of Ethiopian military, and they exchange of prisoners for military BOWs. None of that is being said. The war, in fact, has been intensified in Walkai area, and some of the Amhara regions. So for and then the sad part is that, and then you'll see a promotion of generals that even though
No, no, that's a new subject. Before we open that subject,
okay,
if we can give
I don't want to
Atnafu
even
a
go into it,
chance to
but
answer
I'm
the
just
question. Yeah,
saying
yeah,
that this negotiation, if this is the prime minister showing the pressure from the international community and
right,
people like us who keep saying that peace and negotiation should be, everything has to be resolved on the table.
sure,
If the prime minister is hearing our message and say that, okay, this is what I will be doing it,
yeah,
and this is why I did this, because number one, the economy has been destroyed. The international community is very negative. He wasn't engaging with the U.S. Now, finally, the prime minister and his office said that they will be engaging with the U.S. government. If this is a move that the prime minister's office took, then this is a good initiative. But is this something that's been thought about it? I have my doubts at this
okay.
time.
So there are 2 points that you raised. One, the promotion of the generals, and if this was a thought through process or if this is something that is just sort of being thrown. So I'm going to go to Mr. Atnafu first. Back to our question, your perspective, your estimation. Does it appear that there were agreements vis-a-vis the release of the prisoners of we'll work together? Are there negotiations? Is there anything public that we should know about, that we should follow? And then we'll do the generals and the other question.
Uh, yeah, well, I think there was a backdoor negotiation between the Ethiopian government and the Westerns, probably including the TPLF. Uh, but is it going to be to the best interest of the country, and does it resolve our situation?
Right.
I'm very much doubtful, because so many people, so many Ethiopians are feeling now they are betrayed by the prime minister and their own government. On one hand, the government is appealing uh, to the nationals, to the Ethiopians, including the diaspora, no more the Westerns, no more the other people, the other countries' interference and others. And the diaspora were called on to go to Ethiopia to support the prime minister's agenda, and many of them trusted and they left.
Right.
But while they are there, they declared this type of things. And whatever the government is doing should be in the form of transparent way,
Sure.
that the people should be engaged. Not only the people, I don't think even the officials, the governments, or the regional presidents and leaders are aware of what is going on in Ethiopia. That is the characteristic of the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government since its inception 3 years ago.
Yeah.
He forges any agreement behind the scene. Nobody knew, not even the foreign ministry, when he deals with the foreign diplomats. So there are a lot of communities now that they are feeling that they are betrayed, and instead of bringing peace, it may engulf even other problems, peaceful security problems in the country. Because imagine the TPLF leaders, 6 of the TPLF leaders were caught. They were not caught in Makale city sitting down. They were in the battleground in Tambien.
Yeah.
So,
So you both are
their
saying,
lives to get these people out of that barracks,
Yeah.
and so many of them died. And now you say that based on compassion, if you are compassionate, you need to be compassionate to the people of Tigray so that they don't have to be starved and dead. Um, just just create a peaceful situation that people are not starved, people are not blockaded, and but the criminals has to face justice at the same time.
Yeah. So
So
you're both saying almost the same thing in the sense that either the process or the thinking behind releasing of these prisoners is either hidden from everyone, or the
yeah,
process itself may have been rushed, and that regional leaders may not have been consulted. So I think we'll leave that there, but that's essentially the balance. It's either or, but certainly the process and the expectation that this was almost a shock to everyone. So the 2 points that you gentlemen also touched on was the recent promotion of generals. As I understand it, some major ranks were promoted. Could you, at this time, we'll go at Nafu first and Yasin, touch on that and what it means in this climate for promotion of generals.
well, as you know, I'm from the military background, and this I was head of the uh, organizational and human resources in the Ethiopian Air Force. That's unfortunately that's my field of uh, that was my department who sets what kind of ranks are uh, legally or according to the organizational needs be placed. And if you have a squadron in the Air Force or regiment, you have a regiment commander, squadron commander, flight commanders, and each ranks, each stage of the ranks are set in the document, both in the army and in the Air Force. So if that position is for colonel, you cannot promote any person to be a general. You cannot. You don't have budgets, and it's against the law. Uh, in the bigger perspective was what has been done now. The first time in the Ethiopian military history, we got now the field marshal. First time in the Ethiopian history. No, there was no any field marshal during Haile Selassie time. The highest generals were lieutenant generals in the Ethiopian defense history.
And that
Both,
is what, three-star general, is that right?
yeah, three
But
stars,
never,
lieutenant generals
never,
are 4 stars. Four
yeah,
stars.
It's 5 star. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and now the field marshal is the first time. That is rare. It's rare even in the entire in the
World.
international. It's very rare rank. You need to have a very high merit to earn this type of promotion.
Mhm.
Now, when you come up to our situation now, you get now one field marshal, four generals,
Mhm.
and 14 lieutenant generals, 24 major generals, 58 brigadier generals at one time.
So, question that comes in because it's you're a military man. What does that tell you? If there are more generals, then the troop numbers will
Yeah,
be
yeah,
increased
that's what I'm
to
coming
cover
to.
the rank. Yeah, yeah. Is that what
Yeah,
that means? Yeah,
yeah. According to my knowledge of
yeah.
the information I had, even though I'm not there now, is the Ethiopian military, in terms of personnel, has reduced about 40%, which had been between 1983 or 91 in the European calendar when TPLF or PRDF came into power. Uh, so the personnels are reduced by 40%. If you go to the Air Force personnel has reduced. I have the numbers, but I don't want to tell the numbers because of security reasons.
Really?
I'm still concerned about my country's security. I don't want to tell how many Air Force personnel. It's a public record, so anybody can Google and find it out. So, but it is 50% less than what we had when I were in the Air Force. Now, so what you have in this situation, we never had in the Ethiopian Air Force when we were double in number in personnel. That means you had more planes, more helicopters, more operational needs back then.
Mhm.
We never had even lieutenant generals in the Ethiopian Air Force. Never had.
Excellent. So
I
let
got
me
it.
take it to Yassine. If you can answer the same question, what
Yeah.
does it mean? This promotion of a marshal, of a field marshal. What do you think it means?
In a nutshell, it seems like the office of the prime minister was satisfied how the war went. The war that
Mhm.
right now we are talking about peace. This is my concern. Number one, this war to me, whatever the case is, the it was embarrassment to the Ethiopian military.
Yeah.
And the general that who is right now being promoted, I'll make the field marshal, which is extremely rare, as Nafi said, is the one that who was leading the failure of the military, the losing the war,
Mhm.
all the way the TBLF or the terrorist groups invaded all the way to the doors of Addis. The millions and millions of Ethiopians being displaced. Amhara region has been destroyed completely, half of it. On top of that, for the first time, Ethiopian government use drones to its own people, and it's still that war is not being finished. They and war is happening. So to promote anyone, to me, it is disingenuous and the least an insult at most to all Ethiopians, because the war is not over. I remember George Bush saying that mission accomplished sign. And that's one of the things that we're just saying, that we are rushing stuff just to change the news cycle. And the more the prime minister does that, the more he loses the confidence of the people, and the people who are advising him are throwing him under the bridge, basically, and not helping him. So what we need is study. We need not, we shouldn't be just jumping into different things.
Mhm.
Right now, most of the Ethiopians are unhappy, whoever you are. So to me, I'm looking at. I know the message what they want to show is strong
Mhm.
Ethiopia,
Mhm.
but it backfired.
Okay,
And
so on that note, our time is limited. Two questions that I'm going to ask both of you, and then we'll wrap it up. The first question is the 30 minutes we've been discussing with
On this issue,
sure, sure,
Bled,
yes,
just
yes,
1 minute
yes,
on this military ranks because I didn't finish it.
sure,
Yeah, some of the ideas I had already, my friend Yasin touched it. I
sure.
don't want to repeat it, but I would like to say one thing. So, in this war, I don't think these military leaders were heroes of this war. Uh, in many instances, they misled the political leaders and the public at large. And they were responsible for the unnecessary sacrifice of the military, the damage of the Northern Command, even before the war started last year.
Mhm.
And after that, when they arrived in Mekelle, they declared victory and they said that the TPLF is done. And they just they vanished and I mean they just crashed and there were no more any threat for the nation from their side. But look what happened after that. So these people, to me, I agree with my friend Yasin, should have been prosecuted. Uh, and even the ranks they had before, it doesn't merit or qualify for what they did in the for the Ethiopian military. It was a disgrace and it was
Mhm.
embarrassment. And instead of that, he rewarded. If you reward failure,
Mhm.
that means the political system is in favor of failure.
Very good.
And
So we'll use
respecting
that point.
failure too. So
Let, yeah,
that's what I would
let's
like
use
to say.
that point. That's we'll use that as our next one. The last 30 minutes we were discussing the situation regarding the war, how it went, was it a success or failure? So if we can zoom back a bit, running government is more than just military. If you can give a grade between, I guess in the West they use A, B, C, D. B being failure. So A, B, C, of the prime minister's government thus far, since he took the helm a few years back, not the current election, but even from the day one to now, is it a plus or a minus? I guess that's the easiest on the whole. And the second question, which we got from some of our viewers, is we see political prisoners of other ethnicities being released, but we don't see Somali political prisoners being released. So if you can take a moment to touch on that, do these political prisoners being released, does it have a particular point to the war and going forward or not? I guess that answers itself. But if you give it a grade on the PM's performance from the first day that he took office, that historic handover to the previous Prime Minister Haile Mariam that happened at the Parliament to today, has he done net? Is it plus or minus? We'll do Atnafu again, Yasin, and then we'll wrap up. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. All right.
I made it easy for you. Plus or minus?
It's a good question again. Honestly, myself and Yasin, we had been in communication about the Ethiopian political issue or people's issue, but our main concern was not politics, but the human rights issues and the security and stability of our nation, period. So we have been discussing, and when Prime Minister Abiy came into power, I supported him. And Yassin supported him, and he went back to Ethiopia even to meet him. So what I'm saying is, but it didn't last long, unfortunately. It didn't last longer than 3-4 months on my side. I've seen what he talked. I thought that he's a great leader. I thought that he's a good compromiser and peacemaker, and that's what we were, and very compassionate leader. I thought that he loves the country and the people, and I thought that he is good, frightened leader, very humble, and who can bow down and meet regular people and talk to the regular people and solve a problem. We thought that's what we got. But unfortunately, what I have seen now, if you see, I guess just give him F at this level, because every problem now we are having, we are at the stage now whether our country can be, our sovereignty and our unity can continue or not. We are not sure. I'm not sure. I'm telling you where we are now. The situation you see everywhere you go, people are dying every single day, and the political conspiracy of based on ethnicity still continues. People are not serious about their country, and nobody is accountable for any failure, for the killings, for the abuses, for the displacement, for the wars and everything, and everybody there even rewarded. So the leadership of our prime minister, unfortunately, make us here. I believe in that. He may have a good intention. He may have a good intention, but he's not in a position to lead this country. This country is very complex. I understand that. So he's not able or willing to get us out of this wood. And I think there should be a time now, if there's a reconciliation, there should be a reconciliation, there should be a transitional government. And I think we need to say, Mr. Prime Minister, you have enough damage now. Enough is enough. That's my take. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Yasin.
Yeah. Do you want to take the shot for the other Somali politicians not being released, or move on?
Me? Which
Well, honestly, when you think of reconciliation, you don't have to ethnic boundary for that. Yeah. Well, if there is a relative peace in Somalia, it doesn't mean that peace is transcendent to violent tomorrow. So the guarantee for your sustainable peace is good governance, fairness for everyone. regardless of whether you are Somali, Amhara, Oromo, Guragi, whatever you are. Just be fair for everyone. So if you show gesture for one group, you have to show gesture for everybody.
Very
That's
good.
what I believe.
Okay,
Very
fair,
good.
fair,
Thank you.
fair enough. So
Thank you.
yeah, so um, my opinion of the prime minister is it goes up and down. It goes up from the beginning. How I was extremely happy, same as the whole world. Just we wanted somebody to lead this country in a peaceful way, build it up, its integrity, inviting for then all the opposition leaders, the liberation fronts. I met him more than once, have a lunch with him. Very, very, very smart person. I've seen how he deal with people, uh, but then you can love the person to death, but then when you see the policies and what's happening on the ground, and I question myself sometimes: is he the one who making this decision, or others are misleading him and go? Because it is always it's not only the prime minister itself; it's the people surrounded you, the people you're listening. Are they making have a good intention? And then I've seen decisions that he makes that it has consequential. The word what the word in TBLF and what's happening in Ethiopia is just destroy the whole economy, whole country, and millions of Ethiopians being displaced. We have been yelling and screaming continuously when there was a killings that was happening for the past 3 4 years. Everywhere there was a war going on, including the Somalis and the Afar, the Oromo and Amhara, Oromo Somalis. It was the only country that over 2 million people were being displaced. So all that, when I look at it, I will say that my emotion is more mixed than ever. I have a lot of concerns. I hope that the prime minister can find a way to solve this problem, and he is either he has to be the part of the solution, or allow others to lead this country. So it is that I'm going to leave it. But when it comes to the Somalis, I, as much as I hate Abdi Ile and what he has done, those who did the worst than Abdi Ile are the ones who's been released today or yesterday. And I can understand the frustration of a lot of our audience and the Somalis and the people of goodwill, the double standard that they feel in. Joar, I'm gonna admit he's my friend, and some of his actions I didn't like it before, but a lot of them we came from the same area, and I agree with him. So and for this release, with if you have, it was a good thing in my end, but for the others, I have a lot of questions, and I agree a lot of things. The thing is that what's missing is, and what I have a problem with the prime minister is that the dialogue that we normally Ethiopians used to have is not right now there. You either against Abiy or you have to be for Abiy. There's no in between, and that transcend from Abiy's office and went to the Somalis. It went to the Amhara region, and there's no normal dialogue or conversation of normal criticism. Saying, okay, I can criticize you, but that doesn't mean I want to destroy the country. I can criticize you. That doesn't mean I hate you. We just disagree. So that kind of disagreement happens. Aknafa and I, we don't agree everything, but we have a common interest. We want a stable country, democratic, peaceful, and coexistent all groups that will live together. So I'll
Thank
leave
you.
that to you.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. We've been on for almost 45 minutes. I think we've covered all the subjects there. I just thought of at least 3 4 questions, and I think we are due for a second round. So we let our audience know we will follow the situation in Ethiopia closely. As things progress, we will bring back this panel and maybe add some other experts to it. and see what we can learn and where we can go. Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Mr.
I just want to make
Adnafu,
sure if
yeah,
I now want to finish it up, then
yeah,
I'll,
yeah.
I'll
Closing
leave. But
remarks, and then we're done. Yes, very good.
Um, yeah, honestly, what my friend Yasin mentioned about um, the prime minister's leadership, um, maybe he is surrounding himself by wrong people who give him bad advice. Uh, I try to study his style of leadership from the people who are working closer to him. He's not listening to anyone. But I have to be frank, honestly. I have to be honestly.
Mm,
He's not listening to anybody, because you can see it from his action, whether he went when he went to Eritrea to forge peace with the Eritrean government before the start of the war. Everybody was happy because we don't want the fight to continue with Eritrean people. They are our brothers. We are together. We are one nation. We still share a lot of values with them. So everybody was happy, but nobody knew what was really agreed, if there is any agreement, or what motivated him. And some communities were very skeptical. It gets us where we are now. So his style of leadership, even if we see Mallas Zenawi leadership style, they had an internal party democracy which they argue
mm,
before they decide anything which is very essential or critical to the country. When we had a war in 1994 with Eritrea, there were two groups that were split among TPLF. Some of them were purged because they were against the idea of the prime minister, but there was a fight of ideas inside.
mm.
What you see now, whatever major decision is made, everybody gets surprised. Everybody gets surprised, including the president, including the foreign minister, including the party leaders, including the regional heads. That's not normal.
Mm,
That's
mm,
not normal. And we need to have, one person cannot be everything. You
mhm.
cannot be everything. One person has limitations.
Yeah,
Even if you feel that you are genius or better than anybody else, if you think that's who you are, but there are certain limitations that one person can do.
mhm.
So, especially leadership of 120 million people is not easy. We have
Yeah, yeah.
differences, we have complex situations, political problems. To resolve that, he has to get a leadership style who can work with his own cabinet, the regional leaders,
Yes.
and even the public.
Thank
Elders,
you. No, no,
elders.
point well taken, Mr. Atnafu. I
Yeah.
think we can go hours and hours and
Yes,
hours
sir.
discussing this. Again, viewers, thank you very much for joining us. We had Mr. Ahmed Yassin, Mr. Atnafu. These are guys that I've known for a very, very long time, more than 20 years, I think. We've been discussing issues regarding Ethiopia. I think so. So the answer to that last question is the grade is still out. Everyone is hopeful for a better settled Ethiopia, and that would mean better settled region for everyone. So thank you all. I appreciate it. I think we will broaden the set of questions next time, but I think we've discussed a lot of points in such a short time. So Yassine, Mr. Atnafu, my friends, thank you much. Viewers, thank you very much. Join us next when we discuss the following program. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Appreciate.
thank you.
Thank you.
Salam, 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 salam,